Hello, it is Sunday evening and it is beautiful. I don't know if you can see all the seeds in the ground. See those little brown specks in the grass and all those brown specks in the fire pit back here, right? Look at all those seeds in the ground. They're awesome. I mean, just think of that. One seed took off and grew into a tree, and out of that tree came all these seeds. Now there's more than one seed-bearing tree in our yard, but this year it's ample and plentiful with seeds. Just think about what God can do with just one life. If your life was a seed and you allowed him to plant you and you grew into that mature tree and just sent out dozens and hundreds and thousands of seed that God could use to bring in a harvest. I think that's what's happening in our country right now and around the world, that God is just sending out people to bring in a huge harvest. Hi, I'm Doug Snyder, IWG with God Ministries. This is Sunday's Thought Conditioner, and the word for tonight is multiplication. I'm so excited. I had this thought coming home. I was reading, and I thought, Psalm 23, I do a lot of funerals, and Psalm 23 is often used as a funeral psalm because it says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restoreth my soul," and it goes on and on. And then it gets to this great part in Psalm that says, even as I go through the shadow of the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for he is with me. And it says that he prepares a banquet table in the very presence of mine enemies. Well, of course our lives are temporary and we all die. But what if that psalm also applied to those seasons in our life? Just like here we are in spring, and you see the seeds being dropped in the spring of this year. What if in the seasons of our lives, when we felt like just before spring breaks, it's that winter season, and we feel like we have failed, or we feel like we are dying emotionally or relationally or financially or spiritually or ministry or whatever, that we get to this place where we feel like we're just dying. It's a messy place in our life. I know you've had those. I have had those. Everybody has messy places. Everybody has transition places. Places where we feel like it's the end. What if, by grace, out of love, God is allowing part of us to die, an old season of ministry to go away, to pass away, so that he can bring us into a new season, so that we can go from one level of spiritual maturity to a new level of spiritual maturity? What about if we go from a small harvest to a bigger harvest, to small fruit bearing to big fruit bearing, just like that? Look at our yard and that fire pit. There's so much seed being scattered this year. I feel like this is something the Lord's doing in our country, in our lives right now, is preparing us for a great big harvest. So back to Psalm 23. In those times when the transition is tough, when it's an emotionally difficult time, a relationally difficult time, a harvest is coming because we have to die. Remember what Jesus said? Unless a seed falls to the ground and dies, it cannot bear much fruit. But then we apply Psalm 23, that even as we go through that shadow, the valley of the shadow of death, even when we're planted in the soil and it feels like everything's lost and we feel like we're dying and we're grieving, God is actually doing a graceful and a great thing in us. Out of his love, he's preparing us for a new season. He's preparing us for more. So if you've been preparing for more, if you've been praying for more, more is coming. Allow God to do what he does best. And then he takes bad situations and turns them into good. He can take anything and turn it into good. And your life has value, has meaning, has significance, and you're about to come into more as you allow the Lord to do his work in you. And that's to just remain in God. Allow him to take some of that old, it may not even be bad old, maybe it's just time to go to a new season. And let that die, and know that as you go through that quote, death process, the seed dying. And as you begin to grow a new shoot and you grow into a big tree, you're going to have a whole lot more seed to sow, a whole lot more fruit to glean or to bear. And you're going to have a whole big harvest coming. I hope that makes sense to you tonight. I love you. I'm glad that you listened. Thank you. Share this with somebody that may be going through one of those transitions that needs to hear that while they go through that trying time, that seeming death of something, that God is doing something significant in them in a very good way. To trust God, trust Him in the transition. And as they go through that valley of the shadow of death, they will fear no evil. Okay? All right. God bless you.